Right, so this is quite a deep topic, but I really hope that by the end of this video, you've at the very least learned something. But honestly, I hope this gets you to a point where you feel much happier, at least after implementing some of my steps. But I really went through a phase towards the end of my high school days in particular, where I believed having the perfect girlfriend would make me so much happier. And believe me, it does make you happy. I don't want to say it doesn't. I'll actually talk about the specifics of this in this video. But we would be ill-advised to believe that in itself is going to make you happier. And I know it sounds stereotypical. You always heard online like money doesn't buy you happiness, a relationship doesn't buy you happiness, or whatever doesn't buy you happiness. But I do believe there actually is something, or some things rather, that will. You see, as humans, we are very programmed by society, social media, whatever the case is, to chase all of these accomplishments, to chase all of these goals. And yes, it does bring you short-term satisfaction, but in the long term, it makes close to no difference. Now, the earliest time I remember feeling this way was, yes, I would have been the age of 16. I finished top of my class for the first time ever, and it was a goal that I was pursuing for like the prior 2 or 3 years. So now I finished top of my class. They like announced that there's like special assembly, like every year at the end of the year they had this like assembly where they announced the top 5 students, and I'd often be in the top 5, but I was never first. And the year I got first, I was like, yes, when they announced it, I'm gonna feel so great. And then there it was, the top student, Sahir Rajab, and I heard that, and I was expecting to feel like so happy. Walked up to the stage, collected my award. I got nothing. Not a single thing. I remember like talking to my dad about it, because my dad was like motivating me like throughout this process to achieve this goal. I remember my dad was like really happy for me, and on the outside I'd pretend like I was happy as well. Not that I was like unhappy, but I sat there like, yeah, so I put all this work in, I really was chasing this goal, but for what? But yeah, okay, so that was instance one. A more recent one was like I started dating my girl, bro, it's almost like 2 years now, but yeah, it's been a while. Anyway, so I've been dating my girl, and I always thought that once I have like this nice feminine woman, this nice loving woman, this caring woman, I'll be so much happier. And in some ways I am, I have to say I am. But it's not quite in the way I expected. I think at the back of my mind I had like this tick list or checklist, whatever you want to call it, and I wanted to like tick it off that I got this goal. And once I got it, I actually stopped caring about that tick list. So there is that element of it where we're just trying to tick things off our goal list. That's not to say now, with the relationships, I do want to expand on this. Sorry for the background noise. This recording spot really hasn't been working, but I'll figure something out. That's not to say that having this woman by your side isn't going to change things though. I often look at it, and spending time with her just helps me to unwind. It really does improve my mental state. But what I am trying to tell you is it's not in the way that I expect it to be, and probably not in the way that you expect it to be. But then this probably leaves you with the question, or it certainly left me with the question. I'm not quite feeling happy. That's a fact. Like, I'm not talking about present moment, I'm talking about like a year ago. So how do I get happy given I've tried getting all these accomplishments, I've tried making money, and I've tried like getting a proper woman, and I've to some extent satisfied those goals. So why am I not happy? There's quite a multi-dimensional answer, and this first part, I think this is the more important one, and I don't think a lot of people are going to agree with this. But it is connecting with God, and I know people don't like religious-based videos and all of that, I get that. But there is something about, or at least for me, connecting with God or just becoming more spiritual, whichever one works better for you. Something about that takes away your worries, takes away your concerns, but also gives you a sort of satisfaction on the inside that frankly I can't quite describe. nor can I really feel that sort of satisfaction from anything else. So connect with God or become spiritual in whichever way you can. And oftentimes people recommend like reading the Bible or reading the Quran or reading Bhagavad Gita or whatever your religious text is. I do think that is useful in some scenarios. But for me personally, I found that to be very superficial. Superficial not in the sense of you're doing like trying to pretend like you're so holy and you're really not. It's not that. But rather it's not coming from the heart. It's not sincere because you're reading some random text. If you not random, but you get what I'm trying to say. I think indulging in prayer or literally just sitting back and being grateful for the Lord for all that He's done for you. And you might not think that He's done much, but think about, frankly, the simple fact that in my country at least, there's a lot of beggars on the street on the way to university every morning. It's like a 50-minute drive. I see at least 10 of these beggars. And it often crosses my mind that I could have been that guy over there. I could have been not knowing where my next meal is coming from, not knowing, frankly, how I'm going to feed my family. In winter months, not knowing if I'm going to actually be able to sleep tonight, like against all the cold that's happening. In rainy times, whether I'm not going to be protected from the rain, you get the point. The list goes on. You could have been one of those people, and you're not. If you're watching this, I can guarantee that you're not. And that in itself is something big to be grateful for. But I know that doesn't always quite really get you up the gratitude ladder. I understand that. So I want you to consider this side of things now. Look back to where you were 2 or 3 years ago. For most of you, I'm almost certain you are in a much better position now than what you were back then. But because it happened so gradually, you didn't quite realize this sort of progress has happened. And because of that, you don't actually take a moment to take it all in, to realize that things are going pretty well. We often get stuck in this mindset of wanting to achieve the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, that we don't realize everything that we have achieved, but also just realizing that things are going pretty well even without wanting to pursue the next thing and the next thing. Am I saying that having ambition is a bad thing? Of course not. I often preach on my channel that ambition is what drives you as a man. But what I am trying to get to is, don't let that ambition push you to a point where you actually leave yourself empty. I'm trying to imagine now, but think of a millionaire, a multi-billionaire, let's go with that, a billionaire, who has all this money, but he has no social skills, he doesn't have a woman, doesn't have kids. He doesn't even have a dog. That sounds quite depressing, to me at least, and it probably does to you too. He might have all these fancy cars, he might have a golf course in his house. But I wouldn't quite be happy with that life. And he probably just continuously strived for the goal of being a multimillionaire. Obviously we can fix that here by having multiple goals, but that in itself is a double-edged sword. I'll be making a more in-depth video on how self-improvement can be a double-edged sword, but in a nutshell, it's a matter of basically the main topic of this video really. You'll never quite be happy with where you're at. You could be a quote-unquote top 1% man. I actually don't quite agree with that whole top 1% man thing, but separate matter, separate topic. You could be a top 1% man, and you can still be unhappy. There's a lot of top 1% men, or at least to us who we think are top 1% men, who commit suicide, who are depressed, who are getting divorced. So you see the point here. I would rather be happy than being a point where I'm piling up all of these achievements for no real benefit. Yeah, this was quite a deep topic, I understand that, but I really hope it does help someone out there. As a last, actionable step for you, I know Hamza spoke about that a lot, so credit to him for this idea. But every morning when you wake up, have a piece of paper next to you, and if you're a bit lazy to write first in the morning, you shouldn't be, but if you are, fine. Pick up your phone, open your notes app, and type out, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 things on what you're grateful for. It can be the same sort of things every day even, but just reminding your brain that you have these things is going to put you in such a happy mood for the rest of the day. And if you keep doing this, keep reaffirming to yourself that, hey, things are pretty good. Things are going to go a lot better for you. But with that said, bro, I'll see you in the next one to become a better man.